Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today for some epic surf news. Today, I'm joined by Roger Jeffrey from Carlsbad area. What's up,
Thank
Roger?
you. Hey, how you doing, Phil?
Good, man. Glad to have you on. And for everybody out there, I mean, if you're a hardcore sports fan or surf fan, you probably have heard of Roger Jeffrey. You've done quite a bit of competition in the past. And one of the things you did is you came in fourth in NSSA nationals.
Yep, for the Explorer men's. Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah. So when was that, or what year or years were you competing with NSSA? All right.
It was early on. I'm an older guy, so it was like in the late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
like 98, I think that was the year I made it to the nationals. And then after that, I kind of went into being like a, semi-pro, doing
Right.
some of the WQSs and stuff like that. I never made it to the WCT or whatever WSL, but still
All
had
right.
fun and made a little money and had a great
Yes.
time doing it.
And so on the like you said, one of the older guys, when you did the QS for WSL, that was the Bud Tour back then. And
Yeah. Yep.
and that was Huntington Beach.
Yep. Yeah, well, they had them everywhere. They had them in all over. They had a tour, like
Right.
five, 9 a year, I think it was, 8 a year they had. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great time. I love that. Those are the best times, I thought.
Yeah. I remember some of the early ones back in the day, and they were always pretty exciting. The town would blow up,
Yeah.
usually is it probably hard to manage surfing and all the extracurricular stuff going on around you.
Yeah, it
Um,
could get tough.
yeah, so somebody else out of Carlsbad that won that was Taylor Knox as well. So
Yeah,
and
Taylor
so
Rips.
yeah, guy's amazing. Were you living in Carlsbad back when you were doing the Bud tour, or were you
Mhm. No, I was in the Encinitas area.
oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, so I was like in Encinitas, Cardiff, and then I went to Carlsbad.
Uh-huh. And you're originally from California, or are you from East Coast, or
Yeah, I'm originally from New Jersey.
oh, nice.
Moved
Okay.
out here when I was 15.
Wow. And was that to pursue surfing, or that's just how life went, or
Yeah, I had like it's just a long story, but it benefited me and my surfing because I moved to the best spot in the United States for surfing.
right?
Um, and it was like a little bit for surfing, but it wasn't like, oh, just to be surfing. It was to get away from New Jersey, basically.
Right, right. Yeah, there's a lot of people from East Coast and Florida. We got a lot of Floridians
Oh
coming to
yeah.
California, and I'm sure things like WSL, yeah, helps to kind of encourage that, indirectly, anyways.
Oh yeah. Just being from Jersey and hearing all about California and seeing like everything about California in Jersey seemed
Right.
like, it was the best place.
Yeah, it's amazing. Southern California is amazing for sure. And so kind of met you through Zoltan, which is a air guy, and I've seen some of your clips. You definitely have airs in your repertoire.
Yeah. I like Zoltan, dude. Zoltan's such a good guy. I
Yeah.
just left Santa Cruz and was hanging out with him for like a couple days, took my son up there. Such a great
Nice.
trip. Such a
Nice.
great place. I love that up there.
Yeah, cold and the cold water. So I mean, it's not totally foreign coming from New Jersey. It's probably a little cold over there as well.
Yeah, it's way cold over there. It's a different cold, but
Mhm.
Northern California, like Santa Cruz, isn't much colder than here in Southern California. Maybe
Right.
5 degrees, 4 degrees.
Yeah, especially if you
Not too
like, seems like Northern Cal, I was telling him, seems to start like at Ventura, like the weather
bad.
and the water temps. Um, and so you did some air shows too, Surfer Mag air shows.
Yep. Yeah, those are awesome.
And was that lowers, or where did they hold those at?
Hell, a lot of them in Newport,
Newport.
some up in Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Like, yeah, a lot of them were seemed to be in Newport. I remember Salt Creek, some of them,
Mhm.
all in like not so much down south here where we are down here, but they were mostly up Newport, Salt Creek. I think
Right.
there was one of Santa Cruz. I don't know if there's one in Huntington or not. I can't remember.
Yeah, sir. I mean, Newport's got a fast wave, right? So I mean, it definitely gives you opportunities to get the speed to go big.
Yeah, they would be usually like 54th or 56th Street right
Okay,
there.
nice. Yeah.
And in between those jetties, it gets good. Punchy beach breaks.
Yeah, I used to 56th Street was like my backup spot back in the day. I love that place, man. Other than parking, but definitely always throwing, and it'll put you down to the floor sometimes.
Yeah, it's a great wave.
So I was talking to you the other day, and you have a handful of surf spots that you favor. And lowers, obviously everybody loves lowers. And then you were talking about down in Encinitas, Moonlight, D Street,
Yep.
and then
You
Del
got
Mar.
you got a lot of good areas right here in Encinitas. I mean, you got good beach breaks, D Street, and like George's, and a few other ones. And then you got like a Long Point break. You got Swamis, you got Cardiff, Seaside,
Right.
and then there's a lot of breaks in between that are kind of still great, but they're not as known.
Right. And even Del Mar, right, picks up a lot of good stuff over there
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
I had such a good session at the River Mouth
Uh-huh.
when it broke through, like maybe like 20 years ago, but it's
Oh,
still
okay.
memorable.
Yeah.
It was
I've
like
had some
perfect.
really good times over there. Like even at Dog Beach, I've had an amazing surf session over there before.
Yeah. Every break can have its day, man. But one of the ones I remember is surfing the River Mouth when it broke through, and it was perfect right for like 150 yards.
Wow. And so how 20 years ago, it probably wasn't too packed either.
It was packed. Shane Dorian was out. It was
Mhm.
surprising. I was like, wow, Shane's even out. But it doesn't get too packed. You know, it's
Yeah,
not. It doesn't have crew.
Shane Dorian. He's oh no, I'm thinking of Beshin. I was thinking about another Bud Tour winner.
Yeah,
Um,
Shane.
yeah, but you're talking about Shane Dorian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Um, so that's awesome, dude. I mean, I was telling you, I'm kind of been also North County, San Diego, Carlsbad, Oceanside, and San Clemente. I'll hit some of that stuff. Just seems like, I mean, I can go elsewhere, but there's just pretty much every swell hits between those three spots for me anyways. And I don't really have to drive far.
No, you don't want to really. It's like you want to score it around your home or your familiar breaks. You want those to be working first, and then if you have to, travel out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I definitely agree.
I'm the same
Um,
way as that.
and then I see you got a fat quiver in the background over there. And I think when we were talking, you've been riding a lot of rat surfboards lately.
Yep. Yeah. The ones behind me are my son's actually. He's got more boards than me now.
Sure.
So
That's a sick quiver, dude. I like the color combos too.
yeah, he's
He's got
taking care of it.
pretty much everything over there. So
Yeah.
you don't poach his quiver at all.
I do sometimes.
Sometimes
But
if you guys are
they're a little
hanging
too
out.
small. They're a little too small for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna share it right. I'm gonna share the a screen right here, Roger, to show everybody um, rat surfboards. So if you don't know,
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with rat surfboards, you can get your custom boards made. You can see right here on the front, he's got a bunch of pictures. You got Grom's just super stoked.
Uh-huh.
And I think, is that you right there getting shacked? It looks like it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
there
so you got Roger Jeffrey right on the homepage. Oh yeah, and there's Sunny G too, right over to the right.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. Rat is such a cool guy. I recommend you getting his boards 100%. I've known him for a long time. And
Yeah, and he's out of Encinitas, right? If you want to get
yep,
one.
yep.
Okay.
He's at Encinitas. He's right there by Moonlight, and he's the most friendliest guy I know. And he'll take care of you, really. He likes to build a relationship with you, and he'll find out what you want, and he'll take it, and he'll go the long yards to make sure you get a good board.
Cool. So if you want to get a custom board, you can go right to him direct. And are there like surf shops that you know of that carry his boards? Like if somebody just wanted to go off the rack, or how does that work?
Well, he has some, and they're like they come and go, but he focuses on like the local people. He likes to he likes to work with you. He doesn't like to have you go to a shop. He likes to talk to you and become friends with you. So he likes the
Yeah.
relationship side of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I prefer. I think I picked up some used beaters off of shapers, like shaper racks when they get them back from guys competing who beat the boards up. But I think, I mean, I can't remember ever really buying a board off the rack. I think I usually just go talk to the shaper and yeah, go direct.
Yeah, Rat is like, local. You want to buy local, you want to support the local shapers. And Rat is like one of those guys that, he's a great surfer. He surfs excellent, charges,
Mhm.
fun to be with in the water, great friend, and shapes awesome boards.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I like to go like visit my board, like if you get an opportunity, like at every different stage to go see it sometimes. I mean, I love to do that with my shaper as well. So yeah, if you're out there and you're looking for a custom board, that seems like a perfect scenario where you can, actually spend time with the shaper and the shaper actually surfs. So
Yes.
that's sick.
Yeah, one
Um,
thing is the benefit, you'll be able to get a board and then you'll surf with him the next day on it, and he'll be stoking you in the waves and having fun.
yeah, I mean,
Very positive.
ideally they see you surf too, right? So they can get a better handle. I'm gonna go switch screens here. This may not be a rat surfboard, Roger. It's probably back in the day before that, maybe, but um, I found a clip of you. I was gonna play a minute or two of it right here. This is
Oh,
from like
sure.
12 years ago, Vimeo. So if you want to follow Roger online, he's on YouTube, probably primarily on YouTube. And on YouTube, I'll switch over there real quick before we play this clip. So he surf forevers right here. So he's on there. He's got a handful of clips that he's put up over the years, so you can check out the catalog. But I've got the one I got queued up is actually on Vimeo. And here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, this is all lowers, I think, right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is some local stuff around here.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like it was a compilation here. I mean, man, I love that little grab rail 360, completion too, man. That's got to feel really good.
Yeah, they're reverses. Like if you went the other way, they would call it a 360. And so that is like a reverse. They call that
For
where you
you,
go.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
So there you go. Look at that. Boom. Man, so and back then too, right? A little harder to get footage and stuff. Less equipment, less people doing it.
Yep.
Pretty
Actually,
cool.
my wife took all this video. My
Yeah.
wife's a photographer.
Shout out to all the wives out there and girlfriends who support us surfers and or boyfriends that support their women girlfriends and wives that surf.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean the pressure's been on too, and then I'm a critique of the footage when I get out of the water. I'm like, oh, you're shaking too much, and oh man, so it's funny. My wife's gotten really good at, I mean, just with cell phones and stuff, but it's kind of funny. She's actually got some skills. Look at that. You. Oh, yeah, there you go. All right. And there's lowers. So yeah, I
Yeah.
just want,
I was gonna say the interesting thing about all the video that you're showing right there
yeah.
was like I had health problems.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that was like me coming back out of having a health problem issues.
Right.
I have multiple sclerosis. It's called
Okay.
MS. Yeah.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
neurological disease that like attacks your nerve endings.
Mhm.
And there's a range of symptoms. I mean, you can be in a wheelchair, you can go blind, you can succumb to it and die. And I had like issues with that. And then I kind of was getting better and I was like, I gotta surf as much as I can and get as healthy as I can. And that's what all that footage was that you were looking at, was when I
Oh,
was.
okay. Okay. So that kind of got the fire under you a little bit to just like
Yeah.
charge, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well, just to get healthy and stay in it,
yeah.
because surfing for that many years, you can burn out and you have your ups and downs. It's not like surfing is always the same thing. It's like surfing changes when you
Right.
do it for that long, so.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, exactly. I'm just turned 50. So I've been dabbling with bigger boards and things. I mean, I've had people go, I never thought I'd see you ride something like that. Like I was a diehard shortboarder forever. So I get it. You always got to keep it fun and interesting. So yeah, I used to have a coworker with MS. And then back when I was a young man, I actually helped a lady out for, it was maybe like a half year, a year, I think, who had pretty advanced MS. And that was a pretty demanding gig, I remember.
So you're familiar with it, huh?
A little bit, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, it's kind of like an invisible thing, I think. So from somebody out looking in, so it's hard to like understand it. I mean, when somebody had, you know, this particular lady I was working with, she had, you know, her body had kind of deteriorated and things like that. And so that was more obvious to see like what her struggles were. But like with my coworker friend, Chad, you know, other than him explaining it to me, I wouldn't really know that he was dealing with something.
Yeah, it's not something you can see. It's more like inside kind of,
Mhm.
and it affects everyone differently. There's like a huge spectrum of symptoms and problems you can have from it.
Okay.
And like mine, I have it causes lesions on nerve endings or nerve bundles. So in your spine, you have a big nerve bundle going down the middle of the spine.
Yeah.
Your eyes have big nerve bundles, and in your brain. So it attacks those spots first, normally, or those are the spots that really attacks bad. And so
Mhm.
mine have lesions on my spine that
Okay.
make the signals from like my feet and my legs not get to my brain. So they're
Okay.
dulled. So
Right.
I have like dull sense in my legs. And
Okay.
mine is relapse remitting, where it'll kind of come and go.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
different ones. There's progressive that will just take off and just keep going and keep going. And then
Yeah.
you have ones that are not so bad. And mine's the one that's supposedly not so bad or doesn't seem so bad to me,
Right.
but it does affect me. And it's not affecting me so much now, but it did. And
Mhm.
when it was bad, I remember just thinking, I just can't wait to get better and just surf and just, do that.
Right.
And that's all that video was. That's like what I was trying to do is keep positive and stay healthy.
Yeah. And so did that help for you? Like kind of changing, modifying your lifestyle, I guess, or
Yeah, it was
eating
more
or.
of like a mind frame. It wasn't so much of like it was like of how I thinking, because if you can think like, oh, I'm going to be this and this, and then if you
Right.
can change it, then you'd be better. And then you can be like, no, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be able to surf and do everything I normally do.
Mhm.
And that's what I was doing.
Okay, cool. I mean, it sounds like you're working with it. So in terms of surfing, does it sometimes present different challenges for actually surfing?
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's I talk about it too because I want to create awareness for it.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
everyone can understand it and hear about it, and it affects people.
Right.
And it affected me surfing for sure. Like when my legs were not working and I wasn't fastest on
Mhm.
my feet as I could be, it
Right.
definitely affected me.
Yeah. So like getting to your feet, like the
Yeah, getting to
takeoff.
my yeah, and then just feeling the board under my feet was really
Mm.
technical. Because when you
Okay.
get to be like really good at surfing, you really want to know where your board is doing under your feet. And if you
Yeah.
don't have that sensitivity anymore, you kind of lose that.
Right. If it's dull. So like, yeah, exactly. I think for whatever reason, when your feet are right, and you
Yeah.
know that, it's like
Yeah.
it goes right to your head and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I can do anything.
Yeah. I can
Um,
do no wrong. It's like I'm in perfect positioning. My board feels perfect. I'm
mhm,
just gonna,
mhm. Right. So definitely confidence and balance sound like, yeah, you probably had to kind of sort that out a little bit when
yeah, it's been tough, but like I said, and I like to. I'm not complaining about MS. I'm just like I want to create awareness, and it affects people. I'm kind of one of the lucky ones, I think.
okay.
That it affected me, but it didn't affect me too much. It made me change who I was. Thinking
Right.
that life is not. You're not going to be healthy through the whole lifespan, and then it makes you think differently.
Right. So how do people or where do people learn more about MS? Are there a couple of spots online or
Yeah, you can go to the MS Society. I think it's mssociety.org.
Mhm. Okay.
And then like they have walks everywhere. They used to have a walk at Legoland,
Yeah.
and I used to participate in those. And
Mhm.
it's just to create awareness and raise money for treatments and
Sure.
research and that stuff. But yeah, they
Mhm.
can go to mssociety.org, I think it is. I'm
Yeah,
not sure, but
cool.
I think if you just put MS in your thing and information, it'll come up.
Right, right. So there you go, everybody. If you want to learn more, check that website out. I know there's also an article that you did with inertia back in the day.
Yep.
So there's probably some information there as well.
Yeah, like if you just put my name and then MS and surfing, I
Yeah.
think it will link to that article. I think
Okay.
it's under the men's journal now because
Right.
the inertia, they have their website, and once it gets so far back, they have to like save it somewhere else or something like that. I don't know
Right.
what the technical part of it is,
Right.
but it comes up under men's journal, I think now, but it's still from inertia.
Cool. Well, yeah, there you go, everybody. That's one place to catch that. Well, glad you're pulling through with that and doing the best you can with it, Roger. And you're out surfing. That's always amazing, man. Every day I can surf, I'm always thankful and happy. And there's a bunch of people with different challenges out in the world that they're still charging, but some people are missing limbs and maybe have.
And it's like you said, is you don't know it. Like you said, you could get to know somebody, and then like you don't really know what they're going through or what they've gone through. And that's what opened my eyes a little bit, because I was that type of guy. I was like, oh, who are you and what are you doing? Get out of my way or whatever, kind of not so much cocky, but just I want what I want. But, and then getting MS kind of changed that for me,
Yeah, definitely. I think for myself as well, I was probably just less concerned, maybe more concerned about myself, my own waves for so long. Kind of classified myself as a rogue surfer, just show up to any surf spot and just dig deep as I could and try to get every wave I could. And sometimes people aren't surfing that good, and maybe I'm critical about it. And sometimes then you start to learn about the person. Now that I'm a little more concentrated in my where I surf and how I kind of think about myself in the lineup with other people these days, it, like you said, it opens you up to listening and then hearing. Sometimes like you may not even realize for years, and then somebody tells you, oh, so and so blah blah blah, and then you're like, oh, okay. Like, like you're either, I'm glad I was always nice to that person, or yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it definitely helped me to understand people and like, what is, what matters. I used to always think, oh, it only matters if I did an error in a session, or I only surf good. Now that doesn't matter much anymore. It's more like if I did have fun with friends and am I being positive? That's what it helped.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, which is not a bad attitude to have in a place like Southern California where it's really crowded, because it can definitely test you on some days. And so yeah, good to hear, man. Good to hear you find the positive in it, and myself as well. So I'm gonna go ahead.
I was going to talk about, just speaking about crowds, how this pandemic has changed surfing and who you see in the water and how crowded I guess it is. But this pandemic has really changed a lot of things that I see.
Yeah, I agree. It's gotten a lot more crowded, a lot, in some ways more diverse out there, but a lot more different kinds of surfboards. I think it really put a catalyst, under, or moving things like bigger boards to be more popular again. I mean, I thought longboarding was going to die out when I was a young man. I was like, oh, in 20 years when I'm an old guy, longboarding will be gone. And that is definitely not the case. So with all of that, some of the places you like to surf can get a little crowded, right? So, I mean, how do you manage? I mean, I tend to talk to people in the water, just, to kind of let them know where I'm at or where they're at, depending if they're maybe not as good and they're in the lineup.
I like to communicate when I'm out surfing. I like to communicate before we get to that point where we're both kind of like, where the tension has risen so much that no one wants to talk anymore.
Right.
I kind of like want to break the ice sometimes a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guilty of being, the person that might call out somebody or might make it more,
right,
a little bit tougher on the person. But, MS and being at the age I am has helped me with that. Definitely.
Yeah, I think, I definitely have, gotten to the edge of patience before. And it definitely helps to, well, I don't want to be like, so if you're in a crowded place and there's 20 or 30 people within earshot, even if you don't have anything to do with anything that happens in the water, if you're in hearing distance of barking, it kind of like sucks the whole air out of everything.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I've been out in the lineup where somebody's fighting and everyone's just not having fun anymore. Everyone.
Right.
Yeah, it
Right.
affects everyone. Being in the lineup with everyone, we're all out there together and we're all affecting each other, whether we like it or not. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. It's
mean,
a trip.
yeah,
And
it's
you and
tough.
you and you have a kid that surfs too. So that's also another kind of downshift probably as he's growing up and you're teaching him to surf and you're trying to navigate the crowd yourself with a Grom and trying to help them get their waves and
Yeah, yeah. I've tried to teach him about etiquette and like how to be in the lineup and not how to stick out and not how to make friends and not how to make enemies and that stuff.
right,
And it's it's kind of tough some of the time because
right.
there's nowhere telling you this. There's no like place you can read it and be like, don't do this in the lineup. And if you do this, people will like you more. And if you don't, so it's very complicated, I think.
Yeah, well, you're dealing with people and reading people, especially where it's crowded. That's almost just as an important of a skill set as the surfing itself,
Yeah, of course.
right?
They call it feeling out the crowd. They're like, oh, how you feel out the crowd? And you're like, yeah, this crowd's like eggy. Everyone's,
Yeah.
got bad vibes. No one's, or you feel out the crowd and you're like, yeah, this is a good crowd. We're
And
all getting,
sometimes somebody's just not going to like you no matter what. I mean,
oh,
so
yeah.
you have to figure out how to, navigate around that. So yeah, you don't end up in a bad situation or yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a learning experience. And yeah, surfing for a long time has helped me kind of luckily grow with it, right? Like
Yeah.
um I was gonna share the screen again one more time here. And before I do, Surf Forevers, YouTube, everybody go over there, hit subscribe, hit the bell. I'm going to move over. We're going to talk a little bit about current stuff going on. WSL, World Surf League. I guess three things that have kind of come up for me. This is just an article, everybody. You don't have to read it or anything, but at least you might be able to find some of it later. Had some of the information here that I was talking about. So let me unclick that. So Challenger Series. So back when you were competing, there was no Challenger Series, right? Now there's like this mid-tier thing going on. So I personally don't know a whole lot about it. I mean, obviously we just had a season with it, but how do you feel about that? I mean, is it as a fan, I guess, anyways, or maybe as how a competitor might look at it? How do you see that middle tier playing into things?
I when they started to change everything like that, where they were just like, oh, we're gonna have one WQS and it's gonna be all over the world, and you compete on that and you get your ranking at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
When they went into having the tiered, like you could only be like you'd only could do the 10,000 if you had enough points,
Right.
or you only could do the 1 stars and whatever like that.
Right.
At first, I kind of didn't like it. I kind of wasn't a fan because change, no one likes change and everything.
Right.
But after, I mean, this last Challengers series was pretty good with the pandemic. They had, it's with the pandemic screwed everything up. So it's not the same. So they had to do a lot of changing just because of the pandemic.
Last minute stuff.
Yeah, last minute stuff. And then making it work where they don't have to take everyone and make them go across the whole globe, where they can just say, you can just go here, here, and here and qualify without having to, spend all your money going everywhere where you can't really during a pandemic. Because there's so many countries with different rules to get in and out.
Right. And then like I think, probably what you were saying, not just in terms of change, but I think a lot of probably people in different areas would say, hey, it's hard for me to get to the 10,000 or 6,000 because our area maybe doesn't have as many events or something of that sort. So definitely, I'm sure that created something here. The Challenger Series, I guess from a fan standpoint, it seems like a lot, right? Like, so if it's, I don't know, I guess football, right? You have college and pro, and here you have 3 levels. So I guess it's a little bit to manage. The other thing that kind of goes with that, which is probably an age-old question, CT competitors competing on the QS. That one always kind of stuck out to me as a little, I mean, well, so if you're talking like the Bud Tour or you're talking, anything in Huntington Beach, right? I mean, most people, if you're not a big surf fan or into surfing, you don't even realize, what tier that event is at, right? So I think most people probably think that's the highest CT type event, and in actuality, it's not. But I'm sure the big names coming to those events helps the event get boosted and get notoriety and things like that. But it's called the qualifying series, right? So like half these people are already qualified,
Yeah, I think well, it has to do with their sponsors too a little bit, and because they're asked to do the contest. Like I'm sure if they're like, yeah, if I'm going to qualify, if I'm already qualified, I don't really have the time and energy to be doing this. And then I think there's a little bit pressure, and they say you have to do at least 3 contests in your region, just for your for the local fans. I mean, you might not need any points from them, but you still have to do them. And
Yeah.
Each pro has their own take on it. Some people like, I want to do as many contests as I can and surf as many, or people want to be more select. They're like, I don't want to drag my whole year out. I just want to get in and get out, and then I'll be more happier.
Yeah, and I think I definitely see that for sure. I'm probably more thinking on the systematic side of the whole thing of like, well, and the same motivators, those sponsors probably have an influence on the system, because I guess what we're talking about here with that example that you gave was kind of people having a choice. And I think what I was kind of thinking is like, well, so if I was trying to come up on the QS, for example, if you're a young guy trying to get in and make it happen, and maybe you're pretty good, right? But for whatever reason, you go, and next thing you know, you get put up against Slater and every big name before, like maybe you can beat the top guys on that day anyways, but then somebody like Slater steps in and just demolishes you. Those, like, should they even be allowed, right? Like should WSL say no CT people competing on the QS?
Yeah, but the one thing you do get though is you get experience, and you get to see who you're going to compete against if you do make it. So you get more understanding that way. You're like, oh, and then so if you have a good heat against Slater or one of the big guys at some lower end contest, and you could get a lot of confidence out of that, and that could roll down into like making a final later on by people, because surfing is weird. It's like your last, or your somebody can put out an excellent video part with no contest surfing in it, and then their next contest surfing, everyone's like, wow, that guy surfs so good, he's going to get the points. And it's almost easier in that aspect, because everyone has in their mind, they're like, yeah, that guy surfs good, look at it, he surfs good. Surfing is really it's like dancing. It's like it's hard to judge.
Right.
So
but if you're somebody like Gabriel Medina or anybody on the top, and you get to compete against somebody who's up and coming, right? Somebody that you go like, man, this guy is going to be a threat one day, right?
Yeah.
And then you get to smash them, you know what I mean? While they're still young and moldable, then you got like mind control over that person. Like when they finally, if they do ever come up, you already got that, like, dang, I got smashed by that guy last time I faced him. So I guess sure, you could look at it like you said, you could probably build upon the experience.
But it's the other way for those guys too, because everyone has their confidence issues. And like if you smash Gabriel and he's like, wow, I just got smashed by, am I actually going to win another world title in my life again, or am I done?
Right. Like, oh yeah, exactly. If it's the other way around and you're Gabriel and you get smashed by some young Grom.
Yeah. Surfing is all about confidence and how well you feel, because you're always thinking about, well, am I, no one ever is like, I'm just dominating. They're always kind of like, oh, it's hard to get waves. It's hard to get the positioning. It's hard to get the board, whatever. There's like a lot of factors that.
Well, they shortened the season up, which I guess I'm a bit of a fan of too. But the season was, for any sport, it's a long season, right? It was like 11 months or something crazy, like for a while, or 10,
Yep.
So you have to feel good all year long, jumping on airplanes constantly and keeping yourself, everything, like, I mean, I'm sure keeping your diet consistent, like everything changes everywhere you go, and the effort, whether you have a house there or not, or somewhere to stay, all that kind of stuff. I mean, so like
its own competition. That's its own competition, is how well you travel. It's not only how well you surf, it's how well you travel. Because I know people that surf amazing that can't travel. They
Right.
hate it. They're like new places and new things. They're like, I just want to go surf. I want my comfort zone.
So what's also, I think, I mean, obviously it's probably a money thing, but if you played professional football and you were on a team and you were going to go play in a different state, I think everybody's travel's covered, right? Like, I mean, you could travel on your own, you have the option, but I mean, travel and your stay and everything's covered. In surfing, man, it's just kind of like you fend for yourself. If you got to sleep on a couch, maybe everybody's partying all night long and you're just trying to have a heat at 7 in the morning and, or yeah, exactly. I mean, all those comforts, like you said,
Yeah, like I said, is people are better at traveling. They have that infrastructure set up where they know where they're going. They're like, oh, I'm going to J Bay. I got the house. I already stay there. My buddy's going to get me from the airport. We're going to hang out. We're going to go to those restaurants. And then you have the other guy in the end that's not so sure. He's like, I don't know where I'm going to stay. I have
right,
never been there. This is uncomfortable for me. So
right,
it's like a competition in that aspect where it's like the people that can travel well already have it up on you.
right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so this year they're going to start at Pipe and end at Chopes, which is pretty awesome. I mean, definitely, I guess it would always end at Pipe, right? Typically. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of ending at Pipe. I mean, but
that's pretty exciting.
yeah, I don't think it should anywhere else. But if it had to be anywhere else but Pipe, I'd be like Chopes. That would be a
Dude,
spot.
Chopes is scary, dude. I mean, like
Yeah.
Hawaii seems like, I mean, obviously you have to have waves for anything, but Chopes, man, that's a hairy wave. That
Yeah.
is super hairy. Yeah, I think that's beyond my capable, or at least my comfort level. If I
Yeah.
had probably the boys to, hold my hand through it, a couple
Walk you
jet
through it.
skis. Yeah, a
Yeah.
couple jet skis,
Yeah.
I could probably do it, but
I think it's more doable than Pipe. That's why I'm thinking like I like the Pipe as the ending one because that is more it's more raw, I think, than Chopes. Chope is like more perfect. It seems, I mean, it's way heavy, but I just think it's more perfect. But having world titles on the line and placing on the line and then putting you up at somewhere like Chopes, and if it's big and gnarly, that could be awesome. That
well,
could be
just
very,
to
very
me,
entertaining.
like to me, the way it sucks out, off the bottom, to me, is like the hairiest thing. Like when you look at Pipe, it rolls in, like you can see a stack kind of rolling in,
Yeah.
and the way Chopes just stands up, and so your range and your time to decide, like if you can see like a set wave coming, you're like, okay, I can get in position. You're already trying to build yourself up. I'm going to drop over this ledge. I don't know. Chopes just seems like it's just so sudden. And then the way the reef, it just kind of gets dry. And then like you're stuck. I mean, these days there's a bunch of boats, but I mean, you're kind of over the reef. It just seems like it's the longest reef. Like Pipe, it seems like the shore is kind of right there,
Yeah.
closer. I mean, typically, right, on a 10-foot day or something, but
Yeah. I mean, but they're both very dangerous and they're both very entertaining to watch when they're on,
that's
so I
fun.
think
Yeah.
it'll be just as fun or just as entertaining to have Chopes at the end. But I think all all the people that have been watching it for 20 years are comfortable with Pipeline being the end of the year and to see everyone prove themselves and win world titles and make it back onto the CT or not. And so
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see people wearing helmets too. I mean, I don't. They didn't really have a lot of helmets when I was a Grom, but I mean, it seems like it'd be kind of hard to surf with, but I mean, to save your head if you get smack your head. I mean,
yeah, helmets have come and then kind of faded off and then they're coming back now. But
right.
like, early late 90s, I mean late 80s, the
Okay.
early 90s, there was a lot of guys wearing helmets there. I think that was
Mhm.
when they were like kind of first introduced into surfing, with the gas
Mhm.
helmet and all those ones. It was then. So everyone was like, wow, the new thing, we have a helmet that can wear in the water. And then
Right.
everyone wore it and then it kind of, faded away. And then with
Mhm.
all these new injuries and people, hurting themselves at Pipeline and, and being very in the community, everyone knows about it, everyone heard about it because a long time ago, you wouldn't hear about it so easy, but now you do. So everyone's like, wow, that guy hit his head. That guy hit his head. Everyone's hitting their head. I need to get a helmet.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to see any of the new technology on the helmets and
No, but
I
I heard they're good. I mean,
yeah.
they say it's better. I've never
Yeah.
really I wore one once, but
Mhm.
it was kind of cumbersome and like, same thing with wearing a hood, kind of.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I have a hard time with it, but seems pretty cool. Um, So the last thing, which is kind of a trip, WSL's kind of making some strides with the women's department, I guess. Looks like this year it's not, they're getting the same pay like last year, and now they got same location. So in the same conversation, starting at Pipe, ending at Chopes, women are going to definitely, it's going to separate, I'm sure, some of the different competitors throughout the women.
I think it's a perfect timing though, because I think they're there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I mean, they know, they're like, it's time. They're ready. You know, the women are ready, and I think it'll be good for them.
Yeah, I think the level of women surfing has come up so much. I mean, just as a regular surfer, sometimes you compare yourselves to what you see and you're like, I could do that, or I could do better. And now, man, I see the women, I'm like, oh my God. And, well, when you see them in the lineup too, like in real life, you're like, oh, okay, this person surfs really well. Cause like you said, on a video clip or some, sometimes you're not sure. It could be a really perfect place, nobody out, and they got it to themselves. But when you're in the lineup and you're surfing the same wave as somebody else, so I've seen a lot of good. Caroline Marks is always trolling around, and Alyssa Spencer, and there's a bunch of rippers. Katie Simmers, Oceanside, man, she's killing it. I love that.
One thing you mentioned about seeing a surfer live, that is definitely different than seeing them in the movies and seeing them, that was interesting to me too, because I've, been a fan of surfing for a long time, and I've had that happen to me. I'm going, wow, that guy surfs good. And then you see him live. Some people surf way better live than they do in their video parts. And then some people surf way worse live than they do in their video parts. And it's always been really interesting to me to see how that, play out. Because,
and every day is different, right? Every day, every swell, and like you said, every location. So there's been only a couple times probably my whole life that I've been out with a pro surfer, and for whatever reason, I was getting more waves and surfing better. And I'm like, what is going on? I kind of almost want to be like, oh, come sit by me. But then I'm like, I better not say anything. Or maybe they're just being nice and just letting people get wave. You don't know what the deal is, or maybe they're injured, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody they have injury and they just can't put it together that day. But yeah, pretty cool. It's always like, I'm a student, so I'm always watching. If I got somebody in the water with me, I'm usually trying to see what they're doing.
Yeah, same with me. Like I'm always watching, being up at Lowers and watching my son surf and watching everyone surf is like I said, is watching people in person and versus in their video or what they, put out on social media is way different. And some people surf way better than what you think they surf. And then some people are like, whoa, I thought that guy,
Wow.
So it's interesting about surfing live in front of somebody.
Yeah. And you kind of, I guess on that note too, with competitive surfing and judging criterias, right? I think finally judging criterias are more in line. Well, before I leave the women's thing, there's one thing they still haven't done, and I kind of rub this in a little bit. I'm not going to beat it over too much, but they still don't have the same amount of competitors in women's as they do for men. So it's equal pay, but kind of not really, right? There's less money overall going to women developing and using that money to improve their performances and things like that. So
I think that's going to change, though. I think that's going to change very quickly because right now, like I said, with the pandemic happening and changed all the people you see in the lineup, now you see way more girls coming up that are really good now at the ages of like 13, 14. And so I think by the time, they get into the ages of being 19, 20, where they're going to be on the, women's tour, there's going to be a lot more of them to have, or a lot more, of them competing to be on those spots. And then they might open them up a little more because they have so many people competing to get there.
Yeah, I think, I would hope maybe by next year they'll complete that piece. It seems like they're kind of doing it, but taking time. And obviously, well, it's one or two things. I mean, you can't say they don't have enough money because they could always cut the men's department down a little bit. But, at the end of the day, right, it's a business decision. So they got to get all the sponsors and everybody else to kind of
be on board,
make that move. Right. So hopefully I think that's coming next year. WSL put the pressure on you. But like you said, in the lineup, not just, even before the pandemic, but definitely now, but I mean, there's like crews, like women crews of surfers, which is a trip. I mean, because it used to be maybe one girl, two girls, and it was just a guy thing. It seemed like for so long, right?
Back in the day, it was like a guy had a sister, and that's why she was there. She's like, "Oh, I'm just surfing with my brother." Now they all get together and they have their own little crew, and they don't need anyone to help them out. They're like out there doing it.
Oh, they're taking waves, man. I mean, sometimes I'm all happy trying to be chill, and I'm like, oh man, these girls they're going to take every wave off the table if I don't, scratch into one and look like I want it or communicate, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm going to go, I'm going to go on this one.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool though. It's pretty awesome to see that. I think it has changed the dynamic and the atmosphere in the lineup, which I think has been kind of an improvement, right? And so it makes it a little harder for to be the grumpy guy screaming at the top of your lungs when you got maybe 5 or 7 women looking at you too, like what is going on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
The
pretty
grumpy,
interesting.
the grumpy local, that's all 90s. Like that 90s was the grumpy local. That's like, get out of here.
Right.
2000 and now, 2020, it's a lot different.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, old guys are always I got to adjust before I get canceled or something, right?
Yep.
But yeah, so I think the last thing I wanted to kind of touch on was just about the judging criteria, right? And so I like how they're scoring. I think when I'm watching a surfing contest, I tend to, kind of agree with a lot of the numbers being thrown down most of the time, or at least the logic in how they're throwing them down. And so I know, well, you competed back in the 90s. And so you've seen how at one point they weren't really scoring those in competitions as high as they are now. And I see something similar kind of happening with longboarding. A lot of people out there, maybe don't watch a lot of longboarding, but there's a resurgence in longboarding in general, right? A lot of attention going to it, a lot of really good surfing going on with longboards, which is pretty cool.
Right.
I think I lost your picture there, buddy. Roger. Everybody, I think I lost Roger. Roger. So Roger just went black. He blacked out here. I'm not sure if we lost him. If you can get back in, Roger, get back in. You can use the same intel and log back in. But yeah, so basically longboarding, a lot of nose riding, traditional stuff. It really cool. It scores really high. And yet there's a whole different class of longboarder out there who some of these guys are getting airs and landing airs on longboards, surfing it like a shortboard. And so there's kind of like a divergence in like styles. I don't know if they need more second category, or maybe they need to balance out the scoring a little bit. There's a couple guys out there that surf very progressively and is exciting to watch. In particular, Taylor Jensen, hailing out of Oceanside these days, at least part-time. Let's see, I think I might have lost Roger here. Let me see here. So yeah, so anyways, I've been watching more longboarding. Maybe you guys have too. And so it's pretty exciting stuff, pretty awesome. And yeah, hopefully they can kind of modify that judging criteria as well. So everybody, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to do a share screen one more time here for you. And let's see here. So yeah, that's the WSL article that you can check out to kind of get some of the information that we just talked about. That was published on December 8th, 2021. And you can get the roster of who's going to be on tour. You get some other information as well. So check that out. And so before I let you go, everybody, I think Roger might try to get back in. And let's see here. I think maybe Roger is back in. Let me stop the share screen here. Oh yeah, looks like we got Roger back in. We don't have video for you, Roger. Might have hit down below. You might have turned your camera off lower left. There's a thing that says stop video or start video maybe on the lower left. But yeah, while we got Roger coming back in, also your audio's off. So I'm going to share this screen right here and we'll wait and see if we can get Roger back in. So yeah, I'm going to flip right here, everybody, on you. Let's see here. So we got shark right here. So I don't know if you guys can see that. I think you can now. This is a book right here, actually. So I'm showing it to you right here. So that's on Amazon in our Amazon Surf Shop. You can go to amazon.com/shop/epic surf news. And anything you buy there helps support this vlog. So I appreciate you guys going there and checking that out. But yeah, right here, this is the book of the day. It's for the Groms. Look at that. Look at that grill. That thing's sick. And look at, you could just, every page. So there you go, everybody. Yeah, so that's available. You guys get a chance. There's all kinds of other gear in there too. But yeah, be awesome if you can take a look at some of the gear. And if you see something you like, make a purchase. Appreciate that. Make sure you hit the follow button if you go there as well. So thanks a lot, everybody. Go ahead and follow Surf Forevers on YouTube. That's Roger Jeffrey out of Carlsbad. And hopefully we'll get a chance to have Roger on again in the future and talk more about surfing. So thanks again, everybody. Have a good new year. Bye-bye.